Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR Prepping. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel where we just talk about food preservation, emergency preparedness, just different ways for you to get ready for anything that might come your way as far as an emergency crisis event. And really, I just show you what me and my family do, and hopefully that helps you and helps you give you ideas and put you in the right direction to do things for you and yours. Now, today, I just want to talk about renewable resources, kind of the process that me and my husband are going through. You know, if you've watched me for any amount of time, you know that we've struggled probably for the last 2-3 years on exactly what to do. Whether it was, okay, we were both getting ready to retire, and it was the decision of, okay, are we coming back here to Washington State where we already own a home, and, you know, getting ready to, you know, do we sell it and go to our dream location, go to a dream home, a piece of land, or do we stay here and we say, this is it, we can stay here, we can make this, it's only a half an acre, but it's potential, there's something there, right? And it's more than a lot of people have, and I feel blessed that we have it and we have this option, right? I don't think that it's a matter of the grass is greener on the other side, and I'm gonna tell you why. For us, it comes down to renewable resources. Now, we prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed years ago. I was constantly praying on, tell me what to do, tell me what to do. Are we supposed to stay there? Are we supposed to sell? Is there somewhere else we're supposed to be? And when we got here, the house was destroyed. It was a mess. It needed a lot of love. You know, multiple years of being gone, deployed, not the ones living here. And it just needed a lot of love and a lot of updates. And we ran into a huge septic issue, right? Having to have a whole rehaul. There was just a lot to do. And so there was no, let's come back, let's spruce it up, and then let's sell it. It was, no, you're gonna have to stay, because you're gonna have to get this baby back, you know, up to par, right? And at that time too, I was finally hearing, yeah, you're supposed to stay. I kind of was like, you know, don't even rush it, because you just need to stay here. You can make it work. And I started getting pulled in the direction of, you can make this work. And I can make this location work. You know, started my second channel, you know, kind of just documenting us doing things to the property, getting it ready, me doing a whole lot of laying out and figuring out where we're going to put stuff, and we can make it work here. But the one thing that pulls us the whole time is not the grass is greener on the other side. It's the fact that the access to renewable resources. So one of the reasons why we love the Pacific Northwest so much is because of renewable resources. There's two here that are absolute musts that we absolutely must have, and they're in abundance here. You know, a lot of people, as they get older and different things, they gravitate towards the heat, right? They want to have the warm, you know, states. But to me, in those vacation-y type states, but to me, I see so many things wrong with those states just when we talk about renewable resources. Not having the ability to have tons of access to wood, to not have the ability to have tons of access to water, is a problem for me. I could never move to a state. I don't want to call anybody's state out, but a drier state that didn't have trees and didn't have water. I don't know how those folks are going to survive in the long term when something crazy happens. Now, if something crazy happens, a lot of people will gravitate towards those states, because if something happens, there's no electricity, we're going back to our knees, we're living back in that type of world. The problem is, you know, and then there's no heat, right? There's no electric heat. And so folks like that, they're cold, and so they're going to migrate to the warmer states so that they can set up shop, whatever. But then when you talk about long term and you talk about renewable resources and things you're going to need to survive, you need a fire to survive. You use it for heating, for warmth, for light, for cooking, for boiling water. I mean, it's extremely, extremely important in a survival circumstance. You have to have the ability to have fire. But what does fire take? You need stuff to burn. You have to have wood, okay? And I hate people that are so naive that are like, well, I'm just going to cut down all the trees in the neighborhood, right? Eventually, though, if you've ever had a wood stove, if you've ever had a fireplace, if you've even burned in the backyard in a fire pit, it takes a lot of wood, okay? It's not a little bit of wood. That wood, chopping down trees in the neighborhood, is not gonna last you. Unless you're in the middle, smack middle of a natural forest, you're gonna run out of wood. You're gonna be fighting neighbors for it. And that's if that neighborhood even has, did you even have a wood stove? Did you even have, the source that you need to burn this stuff, right? But it is an absolute must. And for us here, well, we're in the Pacific Northwest. There's trees all around us. However, we could be in a better situation when it comes to the renewable resource of wood, right? We're talking about property, our own property, where you're not having to go out to other people's property, hope they're not there, hope they fled, hope they died, whatever, and trying to chop down trees, right? You have your own property, your own stuff. You have enough of it where you can grow trees and be cutting down trees at the same time, right? And you can have different plots that you're doing that. You're clearing plots, or you're whatever the game plan is for downing trees and growing trees, right? Renewable resource. Now, the other thing that we love about Pacific Northwest is the amount of rainfall. Very, very important to me when we're looking at homes is the land, how much trees are on it, and then the second thing we're looking at is water. Now, one, we love the Pacific Northwest just because of the rain itself. The rainfall, annual rainfall is super important to me. There's places that rain, right, throughout the country, but their annual rainfall is not enough for me. It has to be a high number for me because I want the option and the ability to catch rainwater and have that as an option. So there's that, okay? But then there's also, what else does the property have? What are your other renewable resources in regards to water that you have on your property, right? Well, we have a half acre here. Outside of rain and city water, yes, could the water table so high, I absolutely know that we can do shallow wells here, emergency shallow wells. But I'm not sure. We haven't done it, right? And we don't have an actual drilled well. Obviously, this property doesn't have creeks. I mean, it's just a little urban plot, right? So it becomes, when we're looking at land out there with homes on it, we're looking, what's the renewable water sources on that property? Is there ponds? Is there creeks? Is there rivers nearby? Is there other water sources on the land? Is there drilled wells? Is there shallow wells? How many? All of that stuff is ticks in the box for us. And for us, what makes us get excited and actually heart a property is when we see not only renewable resources there, but we see multiple ones. So there's options. I'm an options girl. I like knowing that we're not just dependent on one water source. We have some backups. We have other things that we could use and go to for different things that might come our way. And so that's very important to me. Then you talk about weather, and you talk about the other things that we personally look for when we're looking for a house. We're looking for those renewable resources like wood and water. Some homes are already that we're looking at are already like off-grid ready, right? Might have gravity-fed water. Well, then it becomes, what are their water sources though? That's very, very cool. It's not on city water. That's cool, right? You're already into that self-reliance kind of realm, but what are the other options? Where does that water source come from? What is the potential of it freezing in the wintertime? What is the potential of the pipes freezing, the water source freezing, the water source drying up? Is the water source technically on somebody else's property and can be dammed up and stopped for us? Like, what is the bigger picture, right? And that's what you've got to really, really look at, okay? What other stuff do I look at when we're talking about a home? Renewable resources, the importance of just the place, that's important. I look at elevation and I look at flooding. Some of those renewable resources like water, it's so important, but it also can be very, very deadly. And so it becomes your property, your land where you have these renewable resources. How do you protect it? We don't look at any houses that are above a 1 out of 10 flood. Absolutely not. We don't even, because the thing is you might have somebody boasting, well, there's never been a flood here in the 50 years we lived here. But FEMA has it on the risk scale of a 9 out of 10 of a flood, right? And so I'm not playing. We're not doing it. It could be on a mountain and it can still have a very high flood chance, just due to you're on a mountain, but you're kind of in a valley, but you're also near a huge river. And if that gets a ton of rainfall, you're done. There's a lot of reasons why, right? Different little creeks and stuff you're not looking at, mudslides, different things like that. So we look at the landscape, what it has to offer us, but how it could also bite us in the butt, right? So flooding is super, super important. Elevation is super important. I think that when you're buying a home and you talk about renewable resources in the sake of wood, I can't stand a home that doesn't have a wood stove these days. Again, I don't even look at the house. It could be banging, like the pictures could just look amazing. If I start looking through pictures and I don't see a wood stove, a fireplace, it's a done deal. I'm just not gonna do it, okay? And you can't always just guarantee, oh, well, I'll just put one in. You don't know what the deal's gonna be with permits. What happens, you can't get the parts. It's a supply issue now. You can't get, I think Patera, she was saying they months and months, if not over a year, waiting for, their stove to come. I just can't do it, right? So my thing is, I need that renewable resource, stove or fireplace that I'm using. If it has two of them, again, it's options. So if a house has a wood stove, it has a fireplace, maybe it has other stoves in the other parts of the house, right? Maybe it has a pellet stove in the basement, or it has, a gas stove somewhere in the garage or wherever. Those options are great. I don't mind having propane or gas or pellet even, right? Even electric. I don't mind having those things. Those are options and I love having them. But I'm not going to do those other options without having the source for my renewable resources, right? I have to have the wood source. And that to me is more than just a fire pit outside. Is the fire pit outside a source and a way to cook and stay warm? Absolutely. But when you talk about a fireplace inside or a wood stove inside, you keep options of staying warm, seeing at nighttime, staying warm, cooking, warming up water. Everything is right there inside your home, because there's situations where it might not be safe to go outside for breathing things, whether it's a forest fire and it's putting down ash, whether it's nuclear war, you're too close to something and you're getting some residue, a volcano erupts, you're getting some, like whatever it is, bad air quality, can't be outside, whatever, right? You have to have the options for inside your home, okay? And with all these mandates, a lot of people will be like, well, they're going to take wood stoves from us. Well, baby, listen, we are going to prepare and have options, and you're going to make sure that you're somewhere, hopefully, where you have renewable resources and you have options. Now, some of you are like, Tasha, I live in an apartment, I live in the city, I live in urban. Like, how does this apply to me? Like, how do I do this? I don't plan on moving. I can't move. I can't buy, especially now. It's super hard. We are going to pay more money trying to move now. If we push the button, we find a place and we move, we are absolutely paying more than we would have 2 years ago. It's just the way it is. And you have to make those financial decisions for you and your family. And there's a lot of families that are not going to do it and can't do it. And especially if you're a new buyer, it's scary, right? And so a lot of folks are not going to do it. But if you can do it, you need to make sure that you have these certain aspects and that you're making that move and that extra money you're paying worth it, okay? So that long term, when something is happening, you're ready. Now, if you're absolutely like, we're not moving, we can't leave, we're stuck here, whatever, you need to get some more renewable resources in your area and where they're at. You need to know foraging, where those resources are as far as food, plants around you, medicinal plants, whether this is stuff you've planted or stuff that you've peeped that is in the neighborhood, is in the local parks. Start walking those paths and learning about foraging weeds and lettuces and onions and different things that grow in the wild that you can eat. That's a renewable resource, right? Look in your area, and if you have a wood stove or you have a little bougie fireplace that you never use, but it is a wood fireplace, get you some wood stocked up, okay? Even a little bit of wood, get some wood stocked up. If you have a space where you can put some wood stacked up in a garage, or you can have a little shed or whatever you have, get some stuff, right? Get some of those little, whatever, those logs that are ready to go. Stockpile those then. If you're, it's not safe to stack wood, I want those other logs, then stack that. But get the stuff that's needed, right? What are your options where you're at, and you get those. You need to prepare as if grid down, no power, and renewable resources. Water. We talk about water all the time. So obviously there's the whole component of how you stack and store water yourself, stockpile it. But it goes further than that. For you in an urban environment, where are the water sources? Where's the local pond? Where is the the closest rivers? How do you get to them? All of that stuff is important for survival and knowing where that stuff is at, right? Is it going to be much, much harder to me, in my opinion, to defend, to move around, to navigate in that area, opposed to up in the mountains in a rural area on your own piece of property? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we say it's important to get out of the cities if you can, if at all possible. Push out and keep pushing out. Are we in a better situation than a city? Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I say I would make this place work. If for some reason something happens and we have to stay here, let's just say total collapse. There's no banks no more. There's no money. Nobody's buying no houses no more. Nobody's selling houses. Nobody's buying houses. Everybody in the area, in the whole United States, the dollar crashes. Everybody just stays where they're at. And it is what it is. You are where you are. And let me tell you, I am blessed to have this place and to be here. And so for some reason we get stuck here, I will absolutely make it work. And I will make this my paradise, right? And we will grow food and we will do our thing. And we already have plans of how do we get those renewable resources on this piece of property as much as possible and as stockpiled as much as possible. So for somebody like us in an area like this, that's cords of wood. All these houses have wood stoves. It's about cords of wood. Everybody has their own stockpiles, right? And that's what people do, right? They get enough wood for the winter. A lot of homesteads do this. This is what people do. They get enough wood, whether they buy it, whether they go chop it down, to get them through the winter. And for us, it's about that, but it's about, okay, how much can we safely keep back here? How much do we have space? How many cords can we keep at a time? That type of thing. But at the end of the head, eventually, even if you stockpiled, enough cords of wood for the next 5 years, let's say, eventually that's going to run out. And not to mention that if something goes left, you having to protect that, you having to keep people out of your wood pile and stealing from you and all that good stuff. Now, you say, Tasha, you just said all these houses around here have their own wood. They do. But what about the surrounding city that doesn't have that stuff and is now looking for wood? Or they're looking for a place like this that they can hunker down. So they're looking for an empty house where people have fled, that they can hunker down, that has a wood stove, that has wood, that has renewable resources. I tell you what, when it comes to these resources, this will be the cause one day of serious wars between countries. And when I say resources in that aspect, it's all types of stuff, right? It's the stuff that goes, the minerals and stuff that go in different products. It's the gas. It's everything. It's gold, silver. It's everything, right? All of that stuff. Different things come from different countries. And at some point, there's a lot of exporting and importing, but at some point countries and things are going to get so bad that countries are just going to shut down and be like, no, it's ours. Nobody else can have it anymore. Or because it's depleted so much that they're like, we can't no more. And then there's wars because you have countries who are trying to take over countries. I don't know who's done that before, for resources, right? To ensure that we were in charge of resources, right? That we could keep our hands on certain resources. If you pay attention at all the wars we fought were over stuff like that. Wars that we talk about in the future, Taiwan, different things like that, those are all for resources. Everything is about, you have something that we want, or we need to protect it, make sure that we can get it. I mean, even the war right now, that is over. You know how much resources is in that part of in Ukraine? I mean, just a ton of stuff. It's ridiculous. And so resource wars, natural resource wars between countries will happen one day. It's already happened, okay? But it's one of those things that it's not really packaged that way. And so a lot of people don't really understand or realize that that's truly what it's about. It's about money. It's about what can we get, what can we control. That's what it's about, okay? So anyway, I kind of went left there, but just wanted to share with you guys today like a little bit of stuff that we, you know, that we think about when we talk about buying a house and resources and the things that are important. Think about resources, think about your situation, and think about how it's going to impact you and the options, the level of options that you can give you and your family to make sure that you can prepare. So be well, be kind, do everything in love, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.